into CompuCram if that works for everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Unless, of course, you all are still saying, that it makes sense to do the Kahoot. So I'm willing to pivot. And you can see my CompuCram screen now, right? Did I lose sound?
No, I see it.
There we go. I lost sound there for a second. Everybody sees the CompuCram screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we focused a lot on national last week. I think we did the full exam. We made it through like 60 questions out of it. So do you want to go back to do the practice exam, the simulated exam? Or do you want to focus on any particular areas that we can go through pretty quickly? So we've got brokerage relationships, license law and rules. So again, for the people that are new, there are 6 categories that are most important. They're going to be the general principles of agency, practice of real estate are your 2 big topics. Then you have financing and contracts in the national. And then as far as the state, it's license laws and rules and brokerage relationships. So 30 of the 40 questions in the state are going to be on these 2 categories. And then 55 or so of the 80 questions will be in these 4 categories. Practice of real estate, contracts, general principles of agency, and financing. Everybody can hear me, right? Okay. I keep asking because you guys are quiet today. All right. So let's jump in. I don't hear anyone, so I'm going to just do a simulated exam.
Okay, let's go.
All right. A real property transfer fee of $1 million on the sale of real estate at a total consideration of $63,500 equals.
$635. And that's just
Okay,
a
I got
guess. I didn't even use a calculator.
1,635. Anybody else? Same? Everybody same? Oh, they don't. Oh, it's a simulated exam, so they don't give you the answer.
No, they don't give you the answer.
No, we're not going to do that. We want the answers right away because we're not going to make it through the full exam. All right. So let's go with I hear a lot of people, although I just had a couple of people say they didn't get the national, they passed the state, but not the national. So let's go to general principles of agency. And let me see if I can split my screen so I can see answers and people. All right. Okay. All right. So during an initial interview, a buyer signs a buyer's agency agreement with an agent. The agent begins sending this potential buyer some listings from the MLS, and the buyer has the agent show them a few properties. Then the buyer asks the agent to negotiate on their behalf and prepare an offer. When the agent prepares the offer for the buyer, the agent discloses that they represent the buyer. This type of agency is regarded as feel free to put it in the chat or shout it out. You guys really are a quiet group. Can you not hear me again?
I
can hear
Fine.
Okay. You are really quiet today. All right. Well, listing agency. Someone answered. There we go. All right. That is incorrect. It's actual authority. So listing agency would be with a seller. So it's listing is a seller. And so if they're working with a buyer, then it wouldn't be listing agency. And so actual authority is when the principal through a written instrument gives authority for representation. So because they've given authority, that's actual authority. Universal agency is the level of authority of an attorney in fact. And, this is ostensible means it's no evidence of authority. Plausible, but not actual representation. So it's actual authority in this sense because they've submitted an offer and they're negotiating. And then the buyer asks, once they've done all this, that's the agent discloses that they represent the buyer. That type of agency is actual. All right. A person who is known as an attorney in fact is someone who has so I've got power of attorney. Anyone else? All right. Everybody's going B, power of attorney. All right. That is correct. A broker takes a listing from a seller in the third month of the listing. The seller had a fatal heart attack. Regarding the listing agreement, which statement is true? So some D's in there. The heirs must work with the broker to get the estate sold. Anyone else? So I got two D's, and a C, and another D. All right, everybody's going D. It's going to be C. So the broker must remove the sign in the lockbox. So anytime that the seller dies or the broker dies, that's going to mean that it's terminated. So that listing is terminated. So the seller and the broker are the only two people in the agency relationship. So if the client or the broker die, the agency ends. So it doesn't matter if the salesperson dies. It only matters if the client or the broker dies. And then that means that it is terminated. So the heirs don't have to work with anybody. They can, relist it as heirs, but that actual agreement is terminated upon their death. While a listing agent is showing a rental property, it becomes clear that the buyers are about to disclose a confidentiality. They recently won a large settlement in a personal injury case and have unlimited funds to spend on the property. The agent, and then answer the questions. What do you all think? C's. All right, we got C's. So should tell the buyer. That is correct. They should tell the buyer not to disclose anything. So always, when you represent the one side, make sure that you let them know before they start saying anything that they would regret. A broker charges a fee to assist parties to a potential real estate transaction in communicating, negotiating, and performing the terms of an agreement. Yet the broker is not representative of either party. In this situation, the broker would be defined as. So I got an A and a D. So 2 D's and an A. And some C's. So another A. All right, we're kind of split. Any tiebreakers in here? So D, A, D, D, D. All right, more D's than A's. Facilitator is correct. So, that's if they're not, the broker would be defined as a facilitator in that situation because they're just there to assist them in a real estate transaction, but not acting as the agent. They're not representing either party. So they'd be a facilitator. A licensed real estate salesperson is permitted by law to represent. So I got a D and an A. Another D. All right, we're going to go with D, which is correct. Only one broker. You cannot represent multiple brokers. So the best description of principal is. All right, got C's. That is correct. For a broker to act for more than one party in a real estate transaction without the knowledge and consent of all parties is. Got a B in there. Anyone else? D. Another B. All right. That is correct. Grounds for disciplinary action. You have to notify both parties in writing that you are representing, you are a dual agent. In real estate transactions, a real estate salesperson has a direct fiduciary relationship to the. So who do they have a direct fiduciary responsibility to or relationship to? So A, B, C, or D. Okay, got an A. Got another A. All right. That was correct. Sponsoring broker. So the salesperson's responsibility is to the sponsoring broker. In a listing agreement, the sales agent is described as the got a D and a C. D. All right. D. It's C, subagent. So the tricky thing about sales agent is the selling agent is considered the buyer's agent. So in a listing, there's the listing agent and then the selling agent, and they consider the selling agent the buyer's agent. Now that's a tricky one that they may throw at you. So just always know that if they say a sales agent, they mean the buyer side, not the seller side, not the listing, because you would think seller gets the sales agent, and that's not the case. So they would be acting as a sub agent in the listing because the listing belongs to the broker, and thus the broker is the agent, and the sales agent is the agent of the broker. All right, so let's go to another one. So that was general principles. You'll probably see about 14 questions from general principles on your test. Let's go to practice real estate. What factor does not contribute to a buyer's market? Am I just not exciting enough tonight? You guys are quiet. All right, we got an A. Anyone else? All right, everybody going with A? What factors does not contribute to a buyer's market? So A's have it, I guess. That is correct. Limited new construction. So I'm gonna throw the question out. What's the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market? What makes a buyer's market?
More homes than more buyers. I mean, more buyers than sellers.
No, that
Wait,
would
no,
be a
no, no, no.
seller's market.
That's it's yeah,
You were right
it's
the
the other
first
way
time.
around. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the first way you said it was correct. That there are more homes. Think about like 2008, 2009, where there were all the homes on the market, not enough buyers. So that was a buyer's market. And generally, a balanced market is about 6 months of inventory. So right now we're in a seller's market because we have less than 3 months of inventory. So that's the difference in that, if it was limited new construction, that would mean that there are fewer houses available and will contribute to a seller's market. So that was why it did not contribute to a buyer's market. A real estate agent assures a buyer that a home is free from any structural defects. As it turns out, the home has a very leaky basement. Which statement is true?
B.
So somebody's got B. Anybody else? Anybody? All right. B's have it. And that is correct. So because the agent, and we're assuming that that's the agent who, and even if they're acting as a sub-agent, they're acting on behalf of the seller and the brokerage. So, the seller and the agent would be liable for misrepresentation because, as you saw earlier, they would be a sub-agent. So when a buyer gave salesperson Sue a check for $1,000 as an earnest money deposit in a transaction, she deposited in her special trust account. Can her client earn interest on this deposit?
No. Must be non-interest bearing. Oh, where's that? I'm sorry. Yeah.
So no, only the brokers may have trust accounts.
Oh, trick question.
Yeah. So, so salesperson Sue can't deposit money into her account, only the brokerage. And you are correct. The brokerage would not be allowed to have an interest bearing account. But these are the types of question you have to be careful about in the real estate exam, because they will ask you a question that you believe you know the answer for, and that answer would be right if it weren't for the fact that it said salesperson Sue deposited into her account, her special trust account, not the brokerage's.
Yeah.
So again, you were correct in answering the question you thought you heard, and this is definitely a way they will word a question on the test.
Scoundrels. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you a question. You say scoundrels, and at the same time, if someone were handling your most valuable financial asset, would you want them to read through the contract thoroughly?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's what it's for. It's so you don't miss things in the way that something is worded in like an addendum or on the contract. So that way you can make sure you're representing your buyer or your seller very accurately. Because if you miss something like that, that could be a big deal. So that's why they do it. They want to make sure you're reading for comprehension and not just scanning through things, because if we just scan through and jump to our first answer, it may not be the right one. So a broker must keep records of all funds received and dispersed from the broker's special trust account, which does not need to be included in the record.
D.
Correct. A buyer looking at a rural property asks the salesperson if they should have a well and septic inspection. The agent advises them that they may lose the property to another buyer if they make the contract contingent on an inspection. Which best describes the situation?
I say D.
Yeah, I was going to say D also.
Correct. The agent is acting carelessly. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not advisable. You should always advise your clients to perform an inspection, because even if there was an inspection done before, you never know, something could have happened to the house, and if they don't get an inspection, they are not protected. Robert ran a full-page ad to feature all of his listings in one ad. Robert describes the property as being perfect for empty nesters. Robert's ad.
B.
Say B.
Yeah,
C. B as in boy. All right. That is correct. Fair housing law. So it could be perceived as no kids allowed. So that would be a potential violation. So familial status. Which is not grounds for revocation or suspension of a license?
Either B or C. One of them is always the wrong answer.
Which, well, no, yeah, you're right. One of them is always the wrong answer. And what's more powerful, a canon or a code?
The canon, so B.
Well, it'd be
I
B.
think. Oh, I'm saying B. Yeah,
You're saying B?
if it's the right answer, yes.
Anyone else? You'd be correct. It is the code. Canons are the more powerful, so that is not grounds. The one, code of ethics is the only one because code of ethics is just the board of realtors.
Okay,
So,
right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So all of the other ones are laws, essentially. A property manager opened an interest-bearing account in which to put rents and security deposits. Funds will also be paid out for contractors who perform building maintenance. Who gets the interest on the account?
Owner.
Correct. Commingling refers to
C.
C. C.
correct. Mixing of funds, mingling of funds. Marty, a real estate agent, has been trying to persuade his friend Bill to buy a house instead of renting. Marty suggests that Bill just move out as his landlord has a duty to mitigate the damages by trying to find another tenant. Bill moves out and purchases a property listed by Marty. Bill is sued by his former landlord who wins a judgment for the unpaid portion of the lease. Whose fault is this?
Bills for breaking the lease.
Yeah. A.
It's Marty's.
Oh
Why do you
crap!
think that
Because
is?
he's a real estate
He a
agent.
real estate agent?
Yep.
Right. Right. You are a real estate agent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So if you suggest or lead someone in that direction, it becomes your fault because you're the one that should know. That's how it's always looked at. Whenever you have an issue with real estate commission or anything like that, they are going to look at it and say, would the average agent have known? And that's the standard that they're going to look at it by is would the average agent have known? Because your job isn't to go above and beyond the call of duty, although you should. You should always go above and beyond for your clients. And at the same time, that's not your job. Your job is to do your job. And would the average agent have known? So if a client's earnest money check upon being deposited in the broker's trust account is returned for insufficient funds, the broker should
D.
So I got an A in the chat.
Thinking A as well.
So I got multiple
Yeah,
A's.
I might just be being dramatic.
There you go. Yep. So tell the cooperating broker that the check bounced. And I missed the why question. Did I answer the why whenever someone asked why on that last question? Okay.
Whenever
yes.
someone asks why what?
It was a question on the last one. I thought I explained it, but I just looked back through the chat and saw someone ask
Oh,
why, and they
okay.
said, yes, I answered it. What
Okay.
factor does not contribute to a buyer's market?
D?
You say D? I got an A on there too. Or B.
People are gonna flock to that area, right?
So I got B, C, B. So two B's.
Scratch that.
B is correct. So yeah, again, fewer houses available will contribute to a buyer's market. Or does not contribute. That would make a seller's market.
Wrong.
So
So fewer houses, seller's market, more houses, buyer's market.
right.
Okay.
So
I don't know
just
why I can't get that through my head.
so I don't know of a necessarily a trick for this, but it's supply and demand. And so if the supply is low and the demand is high, it means there are more buyers, and that's a buyer's market. And if there are, that's a seller's market. Sorry. If supply is low and demand is high, it's a seller's market because it's whichever is the lower is the market. So if fewer homes means that sellers have the advantage, fewer buyers mean that buyers have the advantage because it's whatever there's more of is at the disadvantage. So buyer's market means fewer buyers. Seller's market means fewer sellers. Kenny is the listing agent for a property and takes a weekend trip. When Kenny returns to office on Monday, he discovers 3 offers have been made for his listing. 2 offers are from competing brokers, and the third is an in-house offer. Kenny shows his seller the in-house offer and encourages the seller to accept. After the seller accepts, Kenny calls the other 2 agents and tells them the listing is now pending. Kenny All right. So we got D's. All right. Everyone's in agreement. That is correct. Always present all offers no matter what. Even if the seller tells you, I don't want to see an offer under $100,000 and you get an offer for $2, you have to present any and all offers that have been presented to you in writing. Carol, a broker, doesn't want her husband to know she received a commission check for $35,000. So she put the money in her non-interest bearing broker's trust account that she maintains for her clients. Carol is guilty of
D, commingling.
correct. Salesperson Sue has just completed a purchase and sale agreement with Bob, her client. In order to make an offer on a house, the agreement includes a good faith deposit of $5,000 in the form of a check, which Bob has given to Sue. Absent any specific instructions in regard to Bob's check, Sue should
Give it to her broker. C.
Yeah, I say C as well.
All right, correct. You all will be right. All right. So good job on that one. All right. Let's go back to dashboard. And so that was practice of real estate. And we did general principles. Let's jump into financing. That's everyone's favorite, right?
Sure.
All right. If a lender is charging a borrower an interest rate of 5% and also charging the borrower 2 points, what is the lender's yield?
7%.
Everyone agree to that? I will take silence as affirmation. That is incorrect. It's 5.25. So 5% plus 2 points equals 5.25. So when calculating points, it takes 8 points to equal 1%. So you're talking about 1/8 of a percent per point. So, 2 points, that would be 25%. So remember, a point is 8 points to equal 1%.
So 8 points equal 1%.
Yeah, 8 points equals 1%. So a point is 0.125%.
Okay.
So when you talk about points from a lender, it's 0.125%, 8 points to a percent.
Okay. Thank you.
Which loan is not guaranteed or insured by a government agency?
B.
D is in dog, B is in boy.
B as in boy, conventional.
Let's see what the chat says. I got D in the chat. All right, so I got a D in there too. Anybody else? So split. Who's going to be the tiebreaker? All right. Well, I'm going to go with the one I already have in there, even though it is correct. So, yeah, the amortized isn't actually a loan. It's just saying what the loan does. So, as far as D, amortized just means that it's paid out over the life of the loan. So, the only ones that are loans are FHA, conventional, and VA in there. So, amortized is not a type of loan, but what a loan does. It's, how the loan is paid out. Now, conventional loans means that it's sold off on the secondary market to a government agency, but it is not guaranteed by a government agency until it is sold off in the secondary market. A GI loan is the same as a
BVA.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, good job. What financing method does not use two ratios for qualification?
Let me see. A.
Think C
See?
or A. C. C.
That's what I'm from between also. Saying that.
All right, we're going with C. Being correct. The VA only uses one. So it uses the residual income method in lieu of housing expense ratio. So, it's whatever the veteran has left after paying taxes and housing expenses. That's the only one they use. So VA is different. So that's where it is. So conforming conventional absolutely uses two. FHA uses two. VA would be the exception. So just remember VA, residential income method, and then these two, housing expense ratio method. A viable alternative to foreclosure would be
C. A deed in lieu.
Everybody agree? All right, got a C in the chat too. That is correct. A mortgage is recorded to why is a mortgage recorded? All right, you got an answer in the chat.
A,
Great.
create a valid lien.
That is correct. Which is a document that uses real property to secure debt? All right, I got a C. Anybody else agree with this? All right, we're going to move forward. That is correct. A mortgage.
Okay. Wow.
So your mortgage uses the real properties to secure the debt. That's why a lot of times the bank will hold the title because they're holding the real property as as the what's the word for it? Well, to secure the debt. There's a word for it. I forget. One form of seller financing is so I got a B, a land contract. Anybody else? Going once on land contract, going twice, and sold. Correct. So it's definitely a way for a seller to finance the sale for a buyer, land contract. In a foreclosure sale, the debtor this one's got people stumped, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna say D.
Everybody say D. Anybody different? Oh, got some B's in there, and B would be correct. So you may be the successful bidder and will be awarded the title to the property in a foreclosure sale. So anyone may bid at the sheriff's foreclosure auction. So, that's how it is. Now remember, the debtor is not freed from future financial responsibilities and is liable on the note under the deficiency judgment. So the bank can still sue them for the difference in any sale, even after it sells, if they didn't get enough money. The type of lender with the greatest percentage of assets invested in residential mortgages is a what kind of bank? Whoever's robot answer that was great.
Sorry.
All right. Savings and loan. All right. That would be correct. So they are the most invested, in that. All right. 80%. All of you passed. All right. So we did financing. Let's do contracts. There we go. A bilateral contract is one that
Okay.
Say A. All right, A's have it, and is correct. Earnest money is best described as
Boy.
As in boy, yeah.
B as in boy. That is incorrect. So it's good faith money. So consideration would be the full amount, like what you're actually trading for the property. So it's not part of the consideration. So this is just good faith money deposited by the purchaser at the time of signing the offer. So C. A large mirror that a buyer wants to remain with the property should
Be identified as a fixture.
That is correct. Be identified as a fixture. Who can define a fixture for me?
Something that would stay with the home once it's bought, I just think of it as a light fixture. They're not gonna take it out when they buy the home unless, it's agreed that they want their fixture.
Mm-hmm. So generally the rule that I go by is anything attached to the home in a way that would make it seem permanent. So if it's a picture hanging on a wall that you can lift up and take down just hanging on a wire on a hook, that is not a fixture. If that picture is bolted to the wall where you cannot pull it down, it is a fixture. So if it is affixed to the home in a way that would make it somewhat permanent, it becomes a fixture. The scope and purpose of a real estate contract does not include the sale of
The personal property.
Personal.
Correct. A condition or contingency in a contract can be waived by the and I apologize. It sounds like my 5-year-old is making her way back here. Nope. Sounds like she turned around. So what did you all decide on this one? C? Condition or contingency in a contract can be waived by the
Sure, C. Let's see.
Yep, that is correct. If the buyer in contract for deed, land contract, who has paid less than 20% of the purchase price
Patio Enclosures giving you a call. This is in regards to the information.
the seller may So what can the seller do if they pay less than 20%?
I think they put a lane on it, right?
They put a what?
A
A lien
judgment.
on it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So A,
Let me reread the question first.
I got a C in the chat. Initiate foreclosure proceedings.
I agree with C as well.
Oh,
So foreclosure would actually be if they did over 20%. So in a land contract, it's forfeiture if it's under 20%. So 20% is the kind of breaking point. So, if it's forfeiture after 30 days after giving the buyer notice of the default and intent to sell. So the buyer has 10 days to remedy the default and restore terms of the contract. After the 10-day redemption period is run, defaulting buyer loses all rights to the property and seller can resell it. Now, if the payments have been made totaling more than 20%, the contract is run longer for 5 years, foreclosure proceedings are required. So it's the 20% is really the number there that you got to pay attention to in this situation. It's forfeiture if less than 20%, foreclosure if it's over 20%. Which has occurred when a contract has been rescinded and each party returns to the other any consideration that has been tendered. All right, got an A. Got an A and a C. And another C. So we're going to go with C for restoration. That would be incorrect. It's restitution. So when it's undone, all obligated terminate. So think about restitution as being made whole. So restitution in like a legal sense, you're getting it back. You're being made whole. So, what did it say in here? Yeah. Restoration may refer to reconstructing improvements to exactly the same physical status. So if they restore the property or restore it to the same physical status, that's restoration. But restitution is when it comes to money. Replacement is replacing something, and then reconciliation is, coming to agreement. A buyer makes an offer to buy a house for $50,000. The seller does not accept the offer, but responds that he will accept no less than $55,000 for his house. The seller has just made a D, counteroffer. Correct. Which is not an essential element of a real estate contract? What do you all think? Lawful and possible objective, valuable consideration, offer and accepted, or good consideration? I can't tell if that D in the chat is from this question or the one before. I think it was from the one before. There's no harm in the wrong answer. All right. We got B. All right. Valuable consideration. So it is good consideration. It is D. That's what I was saying. I can't tell if that D was from the last one, but it is D. So valuable consideration is what they would have to do because, so contracts must have offer, acceptance, valuable consideration, and lawful and possible objective. So, good consideration is not part of that. So good consideration is like love and affection. So when you have love and affection, that's good consideration. Valuable consideration would be actual money. A seller and buyer agree on terms of a purchase and sale agreement and are now waiting for closing to occur. Unfortunately, before closing occurs, the improvements on the property are struck by lightning and totally destroyed. The buyer may B. Okay. Anyone else? So I got an A. I'm going to go with the A because that is correct. Yeah, it's all of the answers listed. They can terminate, they can accept the property and claim the insurance proceeds, or they can accept the property as is. It's up to the buyer how they want to take it. So they have all of those options. A purchase and sale agreement stipulates the earnest money deposit be placed in a separate interest-bearing account with any interest earned split between the buyer and seller. This is all right. Let's see. We got a C, C and a B. All right. So C is correct. So as long as they have agreed to it, then it is okay. A buyer made an earnest deposit of $500 on a $40,000 house, but withdrew the offer before the seller accepted it. The broker should dispose of the buyer's earnest money by returning it to the buyer. Correct. So if a broker receives two offers for the same house at the same time, one from the agent of a cooperating broker and another from their own agent, the broker should correct. Submit both offers. A listing agent shows a buyer a home. The buyer then fills out an offer to buy the home, which the listing agent takes and explains to the sellers. The sellers like the offer and sign their acceptance of it. They then hand the accepted offer to their agent with instructions to deliver the accepted contract back to the buyer. At this point, all of the following statements are true regarding this offer, except so which one is not true? All right, got B. That is correct. It still has to be communicated and delivered to the buyer. There's been no delivery and no contract formed in this scenario. Which are liquidated damages? I do love some of their answers. Paper money that has been soaked for 24 hours. So I got an A. Another A. All right. So yes, amount parties agree on to settle a potential dispute. All right. So we made it through a few of these today. So that's good.